I'm sure it will be absolutely worth it. We're having actually a fantastic morning here today in London. It's beautiful and sunny, and I hope wherever you are in the world, you're having a great weather too. And of course, I just wanted to say as well, for those of our agents who are joining us today that are celebrating Eid tomorrow, we just wanted to wish Eid Mubarak. Thank you. So with me today, we've got Ian, who is the head of accommodation sales and bookings. Hi, Ian.
Hello, hi everyone.
We also have Will with us as well. So Will is head of admissions operations, and he is here with us just to answer any questions you may have at the end that may be admissions related as well. And wanted to draw your attention to the little Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom, as that's where you can pop any questions during the webinar, and we will make sure we address them all at the end. All right, so that was a little bit of housekeeping. And now we can move on. So now on the slide, you will see a little reminder of our excellent flexible study options that are available to your students with Kaplan Pathways. So number one is that your students can actually start with us in the UK straight away from September. We actually had a call with our college directors yesterday, and I could pretty much see that they have their arms wide open, waiting to welcome the students in person in September. So this option would be perfect for those of your students who can travel to the UK, who can get access to the visa centres and IELTS test centres or other English language test centres in their home countries, and who are willing to come and join us for face-to-face blended experience in the UK. Alternatively, there are other two options available for your students as well with us in terms of their studies. So one option is that your students can join us digitally first, and then they can transition to the UK later on when the time is right for them. So this option is obviously great for those students who maybe may not be able to travel right now, maybe because there are no flights internationally going out just yet, or maybe there are other reasons that are stopping them to do so. Or it may be just that they're not yet comfortable traveling to the UK, and that's also absolutely fine. We have that option for them. And there is another option available as well, is that some students may choose to start digitally and then may choose to finish their program digitally with us because of their individual circumstances. And once again, that's also absolutely fine. So in order for us to match our amazing flexible study options, of course, we had to come up with some really great flexible accommodation options as well. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense, would it? So we have a dedicated team to support the students on every step of their way. And there is absolutely no rush for your students to book their accommodation right now, because we really want to make sure that students book only when they are confident and are happy to commit to coming to the UK, right? So, and I understand what you probably are thinking right now, because all of us have been through those years where we would be thinking, oh wow, if we don't book accommodation now, my student may not have a bed to sleep on in the UK. Well, this year is a completely different year for us, and our accommodation team are completely confident that they will be able to source an accommodation option that's right for your student at the time at the time that's right for your students to arrive to the UK. So please have this confidence because we will be able to do that for your students. So no need to book right now. They should only book when they know they're coming. There are also 3 flexible contract start dates to suit your students' individual circumstances, and my colleague Ian will be chatting you through those just in a couple of minutes in the next slide. There is also a 2-week flexibility either way of the accommodation contract start date for the autumn arrivals. So what does it mean? It means that there is an official contract start date, which would be a certain date, but your students who are arriving in the autumn, they will be able to come 2 weeks before the official contract start date. For example, they may need to self-isolate, and these first 2 weeks will be absolutely free for them. Alternatively, they may choose to come 2 weeks after the official contract start date, and this would mean that they will be paying 2 weeks less of their accommodation, which obviously always a really nice option to have as well. But once again, Ian will be talking you through all of this in much more detail in the next slide just now. But before we move on to this, and obviously it goes absolutely, without saying, but there will be robust health and safety measures in line with government guidelines at all of our accommodation options. I just wanted to put it on the slide just for your peace of mind. Of course, health and priority, or health and safety are absolute priority for us. So please be reassured about this. So now I would like to pass on to Ian to chat you through this flexible accommodation options. Thank you.
Thank you, Lilia. Thank you for that introduction, and hello, everyone. Really pleased to be here today and excited to deliver these options to you because they are really fantastic options and really are aligned with our flexible study options. So I really did want to spend a bit of time on this slide just explaining what they are, just so you can see the contract lengths and the benefits to you, because they are absolutely fantastic, because they allow the students to come when they are feeling they are happy and they're ready to transition and want to come to the UK. So the first option is just kind of the standard, the normal option that you would see, I suppose, in terms of a student starts on the 12th of September, which is, the start date of the accommodation, ready for the date on the Monday to enrol. And then for a standard 2-term student, then their contract would be 41 weeks. So the 12th of September to the 26th of June. If they were a 3-term student, then of course it would end at the end of August as well. But what we've done here is we've given you the flexibility at the start of the contract. So you can see that you've got the 12th of September. So a student can arrive up to 2 weeks before this date. So from the 29th of August, we do have to check availability, of which our dedicated team will confirm that for you. But from the 29th of August, they could arrive up to 2 weeks for free. And then from that, from the 12th of September, they also have an additional 2 weeks. So they can arrive up to 2 weeks afterwards and only pay for when they arrive. So the maximum on that will be the 26th of September. So if they arrived on the 24th, they will pay from the 24th. But if they arrived after the 26th of September, then they would have to pay from the 26th. And as you can see, for a 2-term contract, that length is a 41-week contract. However, if they decided that they wanted to come the 2 weeks later, it would only be a 39-week contract. So again, much better. Option 2, so there's 2 options here, and the reason there's 2 is because if you are a September student or you are an October 2.5-term student. If you're a September student and decide to join on the 24th of October, which you're quite welcome to do, you can end your contract on the 26th of June, which will be as per the normal September 2-term contract. So you can see there the contract length has already been reduced from 41 weeks, as in the standard term, to 35 weeks. And then you could additionally reduce that to 33 weeks by using the 2 weeks flexible after the start date. And of course, you can come earlier from the 24th to the 10th of October, and that's for free. And again, from the 24th of October to the 7th of November, you can also join us then and only pay when you arrive up until the 7th of November. Now, you can stay until the end of August as well, which is the 2.5-term contract. But those weeks that you see there, from 35 to 33 weeks, is the 2-term contract, which is a new addition, which is the flexibility that we've mentioned in terms of the blended learning, which is such a great option because it allows students to come later than the 12th of September, stay in their own country, but also only pay from when they come. And finally, you have a third option, which is to come in January. So study your entire first term online and then join us in January. And again, you have that 2-week flexibility from the 23rd of December, where you can come for free up until the 6th of January. From the 6th of January, though, you would need to pay for your accommodation contract. There is not the 2 weeks additional flexibility on that contract. It's just the 2 weeks earlier, not the 2 weeks afterwards. And with this program, you are actually required to stay until the end of August. Now, even if you were a two-term student, you would need to sign a contract to the end of August. But as you can see, this is such a fantastic option anyway, because it allows you to come in January and the contract length would be 33 weeks, which is much, much reduced from the 41-week contract in September. And with that, additionally as well, because one of the reasons that we've introduced this, these great options is your students aren't going to be spending the amount of time in the UK where they would have done in the normal situation from the 12th of September. So this allows them to then stay on after the end of their course. Our colleges are looking at providing some excursions and day trips and further learning where possible, and that will be communicated further down the line once our students have enrolled. But they will look to do other things within there. And obviously you can remain in the UK. You can do as much as you like when you're in there. But the main selling point of this is that it gives your students that flexibility at the start of their contract for when they are comfortable to come to the UK. So looking at this in terms of if you're looking at what's kind of cheaper, what's kind of best, if you actually compare the October and the January start, they are actually both for 33 weeks. This is generally what our colleges, some colleges may vary, but this is generally what the number of weeks are. So the October length is actually the same length as the January one, because the October one you can obviously flex and start on the 7th of November and then end on the 26th of June. Whereas the January one, you would start on the 6th of January, end at the end of August, and it's the same length. So it's 33 weeks. But these options really cater for every single student which decides to whether they come to the UK and start face-to-face, or whether they come later when it's comfortable for them. This is the main area that we want to just really identify and bring to your attention, that we are here to support our students and we are absolutely here to guide them and deliver what they need when it's right for them. We want to ensure that students are booking when they know they're coming to the UK. So don't feel, as Lilia mentioned earlier, that you need to book earlier. You should book when your CAS has been issued, when you have your travel plans, when you know you're coming, and then get in touch with our accommodation team. We are here to give further assistance. We can provide further information on the residences, the measures within our residences, because we obviously have a multitude of different residences. But we are here to support you and just to give that guidance when you need to. Do remember on the 2 weeks earlier, it is subject to availability, so just remember that you are checking with our accommodation team so we can confirm that once you have your flight tickets. So moving on to the next slide. So we just wanted to clarify here in terms of who can book and when they can book and who can't book, really. So first of all, the only person that can't book, or the only student which can't book is students which are starting and completing their program online. For the other two options, so if a student is coming for hybrid learning, or if they're coming for blended learning, so if they're starting in the UK, or if they're coming at a later date, they can absolutely book their accommodation. And they can do so, as I say, we are recommending students to do that once they have their CAS and they know they are coming to the UK. The only ones that can't book are the ones that are staying online. Of course, they wouldn't need to book anyway because they're fully intent on staying online. What I've put together here for you is just an example of the costings. So you will find all of our updated accommodation pricing guides online now. Because of these flexible options, it obviously creates a multitude of different room types, different pricing. So the best way that we thought of representing this is a one-page document per college, which you can see, as I say, it's online now. And it's in a normal format, which you are used to anyway. So it lists the one-term option. With the one-term option, you can't offer the additional flexibility because it's just for the one term anyway. So it wouldn't go any further anyway. So the main one are the 2-term and the 3-term options. So you'll see here you have in Kaplan Living Liverpool, you've got the classic and the studio rooms, and there's the pricing for the full 41 weeks. And then below, what we've done to try and demonstrate the best you can to your students and in the price saving is we've done the 2-term example for a classic room if they're starting on the 24th of October and then the 6th of January. And you'll see there on the classic option for 2 terms, the total price is very similar because the number of weeks is very similar in terms of 35 and 33 weeks. And as I say, that does vary across some colleges. You may find 33 or 34, but they're very similar. But what you can bear in mind, of course, is these are the published start dates. So remembering the flexibility that you have on that October contract, you could push it to the 7th of November and drop that 35 weeks down to 33 weeks. So they really are similar, the October and the January starts, and it's about when your students are comfortable that they want to come to the UK and travel restrictions allow them to come to the UK and they have the things that they need. But you will find, because as I say, this is an example, you will find full pricing on all of our options on our booking form. And those booking forms are updated with current options. So, and that will also link to flexibility as well. So please do look at our booking form and you'll find the full pricing details on there. In relation to our cancellation policy, so as we've said, we are absolutely here to support students and guide them when it's right for them. So we are proactively encouraging students to only book their accommodation when they know they are coming to the UK. Therefore, they are getting the most up-to-date information of what's available and when they can start. So, and without any worry about things, not happening, flights being cancelled, etc. So this is why we're encouraging students to book when they are coming to the UK. We do need to bear in mind, though, because we will allow a student, if they really want to book a contract without that details, if they are confident they are coming. But they do need to bear in mind, once that contract is signed, then they are bound by those contract terms. If the student decides to defer their study programme, which is as they could normally do anyway, then they can, of course, defer their study programme, and they would also be able to defer their accommodation booking as well. Okay, I just wanted to mention University of Bristol IFP, our options as well, because it is slightly different there. So as the university have moved their start date to the 5th of October, they are proactively encouraging students to come from the 5th of October. What we have done is, because ultimately it's a 2-week push, so we haven't changed our dates. We haven't changed our accommodation dates at all. So students can still come on the 19th of September. But what they have got now, that first 2 weeks is free, which ties in with when the university starts on the 5th of October. So it doesn't, even if, they can come on the 19th, have the 2 weeks free, they can choose to come on the 3rd of October. They won't pay until the 3rd of October. But with the IFP, there is no additional 2-week flexibility, and their contract will end when it did anyway. So there's no change. It's just that initial 2 weeks for free. And what you will see is when the student looks on our guide, you will actually see that the price has been updated. So the price has been reduced from 2 weeks, for 2 weeks. So, but just to be clear, they can definitely come on the 19th of September. And just to reiterate, this is our option. So this is our accommodation option with the IFP, because of course students, should they wish to, can book directly with the university. But this is our option, and our option is really fantastic. I just wanted to show you what our option is, really. So it's an option that we've used before. It's a really lovely building in Bristol city centre. It has they are all private studios, which again is perfect for this, for what's happened with COVID. So everyone has their own private kitchen and private bathroom. And every single room within the building is a studio. They vary in terms of sizing, but you'll see that on our booking form, but the building is really great. You see a photo of the building there, it has an on-site gym, it has communal facilities, and the location is perfect. But this is when you book through Kaplan. Okay, so what have we done in terms of our existing students and existing bookings? So, because we obviously had bookings prior to releasing our new options. So since we've released our new options, every single student which booked with us has now been contacted. So they've had a communication from our central accommodation team about the new options which are available to them. So they have absolutely been able to keep their existing booking should they wish, because the date's still the same. They still may be confident that they are coming on the 12th of September. And if so, that's absolutely fine. They can keep their existing booking. But they've also had the option to book the later options, so for in October and January, which just allows that flexible choice for each student's circumstance and has let them decide. So when we were establishing these options, and as the pandemic has moved on, we've pull these together, but we didn't want to stop our bookings. So as I say, every single student has been contacted. So as Lily mentioned earlier, health and safety is so important to us, and we are absolutely following the government guidelines. Here is some examples of our fantastic Kaplan Living building in Liverpool. So we've installed hand sanitizer stations throughout the building. We have frequent and thorough cleaning routines for each of our buildings. We have extra cleaning procedures, in particular for high traffic areas, and one-way systems which are in place as well. We have floor markings and signage for social distancing and 24-hour support staff in all of our Kaplan Living buildings. In the buildings where we third-party providers, we are of course working with every single one of our providers to understand fully what measurements they are putting in place, and we are ensuring that they all follow government guidelines, of which they all are, and many of which additional things as well. And if there are specific questions around specific residences, then of course our team can respond to those and give further guidance if that's required. But it's the utmost importance to us, and we're ensuring this is delivered for our students. Okay, living assistance. So we are, as I mentioned earlier, we are absolutely following UK government guidance at all times. We are seeing many questions around quarantine and what measures are we putting in place for quarantine. As I say, we are following government guidelines, and our health and safety measures are our top priority. I've listed what we will do in terms of the extra requirements in terms of hand sanitizer and one-way systems and etc. But we will also look to see anything further that's required. We will try our best to place allocations where we can, dependent on student numbers, but this will all be followed by government guidelines at all times. We have extra support in place at our colleges for mental health and well-being, which is again the utmost importance to us, and we have support and assistance to students who are self-isolating. In relation to food, we are seeing questions around food, and unfortunately we won't be providing students with meals, but we absolutely have that support and assistance there, where we can provide assistance on deliveries or shopping, etc., and we can provide that assistance and guide them in terms of what they need to do. We also have some fantastic new options. What this has enabled us to do is we are working with providers which are also flexible like we are. We need to ensure we have that flexibility in these times. And we've got some really good new options, which I'm sure you'll see soon. Specifically in London, I'm aware at the moment we have limited options. We are just agreeing new terms with 2 new buildings in London. You will see these in our guides next week. They are walking distance from KRCL. They are really fantastic options. And as I say, we have the flexible booking policies there, and they have high standards in line with Kaplan Living. We always ensure when we're choosing new buildings or residences that we ensure we have these high standards. Arrivals. So we are still doing our usual arrivals, but we have additions, and of course, so we have our arrival weekend. Our free arrival weekend is the weekend of the 12th of September. We also have the free arrival weekend in spring, so the 9th of January, which ties in with the January contract. What we have done as well is we've introduced a further arrival weekend for that October start. So where this isn't usually in place, but we have implemented this as well. So the 24th of October is another free arrival weekend. And of course, we're seeing questions around how we're going to social distance on coaches. And as we say, we will follow government guidelines, and we will monitor the numbers in terms of students which are coming, and then we will make those plans nearer the time. But we will always follow government guidelines. We also have the option of a private transfer arrangement, which our college can arrange. So any student which just wants to arrange privately, we can do that. They don't need to do that themselves. They just need to submit the form nearer the time, and then we will be able to arrange that private transfer for them, which again is something that we always offer and always proves very popular.
All right, so we have actually reached the end of our wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Ian. And there is one key message that we wanted you to take away from today. We obviously hope that you found every single slide very useful. But the most important message is that obviously we, our teams, all of our teams, are always here to support every student, and we are here for them when they need to book their accommodation. So as soon as they decide that they're coming to the UK, they should let us know, and we will help them with this process. And We also have provided this link on the slide for you later on to refer to. This is actually an FAQ, accommodation FAQ on our website. And we make sure that we keep this FAQ up to date at all times. So whenever you have any questions, please make sure you refer to this section of our website because we are trying to populate it with the most frequently asked questions for you. And there was actually one more thing that I wanted to mention. So all these fantastic flexible options that Ian has mentioned, we are also going to be updating our terms and conditions on our website just to reflect this in the coming days. So just wanted to give you a heads up that that's going to be happening very, very shortly, of course. All right. Okay, so I think now we can really move on to have a look what questions we have received. And I can see we have received quite a few. Thank you so much for being so engaged. Right, Ian, we've got one flexible options applicable to a pathway accommodation.
They are, yes. So they are applicable to every pathways accommodation, which also includes FEPs as well. As I've already mentioned, what it doesn't include is the IFP. That I've already gone through those details, but yes, it does appeal to every single pathways accommodation. I can also see another question around York. Now, it does also apply to York. The difference with York is their start date is later anyway. So they start, I believe, I think it's the 26th or 28th of September. So students can start on that date, but then they also have the 2 weeks flexibility to push that 2 weeks afterwards as well. So it does apply to all of our pathways colleges, yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Ian. So we've answered this too. Right, we've got another question from Ina. May I know the student has paid the deposit for accommodation for September, but now the student chooses to come in January. What will happen with the deposit?
Okay, I can answer that in two ways. So if they have paid their deposit for accommodation, but they have not booked accommodation, that's no problem at all. The deposit will stay there for their accommodation when they're ready to book. So they will not lose their deposit, to be clear. If they haven't booked, if they have booked and they are now deciding to come in January, they must ensure that they update our accommodation to update their booking. They won't lose their deposit, but we have to update their booking to ensure that it's reflected that they come in January.
Thank you. We've got another great question here. So if students book accommodation from the 12th of September, the two-term course, but due to the visa processing time affected by the pandemic, they cannot go to the UK on time. Can they change to option 2 at that time if the arrival date is on the 10th of October or later?
Yeah, so but we are encouraging students to book when they know they are coming. So when they have all that details, when they've been to the visa centre, when they have everything. So and hence why we're encouraging them to do that, which is clear then when they are due to come. Worst case, if they then couldn't do that, then they need to keep us in touch with us to ensure that we can move to the 24th of October. But this is why we are encouraging students encouraging students to only book when they know when they are coming.
Thanks. We've got a question with regards to the quarantine and food deliveries. So how would students receive their deliveries of food during the quarantine? Will it be sent to their student to their room?
So what we actually did when the initial pandemic hit with students, it varied and it was following government guidelines again. So it was that deliveries were taken to reception and then the residence team would do that. But then it changed and the residence team weren't allowed to handle it. So then the delivery drivers had to take it directly to their rooms. So again, we will do what the government restrictions allow us to do. Yes.
Thank you so much. Right, we've got a question about transfers. Are free transfers available for students at all colleges?
Yes, they're available at all of our colleges. With that, and when you obviously submit the forms, we then will make plans, whether that's coaches, again following government guidelines, or with their private transfers, but they are available, yeah.
All right, we've got another question about York students. Is a transfer normally from the Manchester airport?
It is, and I know there's an outstanding question on this because I believe there is some restrictions at Manchester, and when we have those details clear, we will communicate. But yes, it is there. Yeah.
Excellent. We've got another question with regards to arrivals actually. Will there be free arrival for students who arrive in 2 weeks early to quarantine?
So the free arrival weekend is just on those weekends, so the 12th of September, the 24th of October and the 9th of January. Of course, if a student arrives early, then we can arrange them a private transfer, which is a cost, unfortunately, but the free one is only on those free arrival weekends.
Thanks. We've got a question with regards to the accommodation contract lengths. So the minimum contract length of accommodation 33 weeks. What would Kaplan do if the student wishes to end the contract before the contract finishes?
It would be as a normal situation. So our contracts are always for a fixed period of time. The benefit what we've done now is to allow these shorter contracts, which is much shorter, being 33 weeks. So all we could do if a student did want to do that is, as we do now, which is to advertise to see if we could fill that room with another student. And if that was possible, then we could look to release the student. But otherwise, students would be held to that number of weeks which they had signed up for.
Yeah, so of course the students can leave earlier if they want to go back home, but unfortunately they'll be bound by the contract terms.
Absolutely, of course, yeah, if they wanted to go early, they could do.
Thank you. Right, we've got a question with regards to IFP Bristol. Is King Square the only option we have?
It is if you book through Kaplan, yes. You can book through the university. Of course, our option is, it really is fantastic. It's, it's an option within the city centre. It's got many facilities there, but that is the only option that you could book through Kaplan, yes.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just looking through how many we've got here. Right, how will accommodation allocation be different this autumn and next spring? So for example, if students from the same course be allocated together in the same flat to ensure they live in the same bubble?
Yeah, so obviously we're looking at allocations, and that is going to be closely linked with what government guidelines is. We generally place students together for each term, but as we say, we do try and maximise our rooms, and we will of course follow government guidelines. And if it doesn't allow us to do that, then it won't allow us to do so, but we will make every endeavour to place them together.
Lovely, thank you. Uh, um, okay, we've got a question from Penny. Thank you so much for the informative presentation. You're very welcome. We're very happy to do that. Since you said that students can only book for accommodation when they're ready to travel to the UK, I saw that some of my students have been receiving reminders about accommodation booking deadline. Should there be a deadline when students can book at any time and they meet the travel requirements?
Yeah, I just want to be, so on this point, so we have removed our accommodation guarantee deadlines, and we've done that for support to ensure that students can come to us at any point. The deadlines which students see is if they request a contract with us. So they submit a booking form, and then we respond with our contract. Then they have 7 days in order to sign that contract and return it. But that's once they have submitted their request for a booking. It is not in the fact that they have to book sooner than they wish to. It is only, but once they have made a request for a booking and the contract has been sent, we do have to have a deadline in terms of when that contract is due back, because they already have those flexible options. They are making that decision that they want to join.
Thank you so much. That's excellent. Right, we've got, and actually, sorry, I wanted to add to this. Thank you, Penny, for saying that you have seen some students receiving the automations that are telling them about the accommodation deadline. I'll make sure to double check that for you, because now with this excellent flexible options being available, that should no longer be the case. So thank you. We've got another question as well from Lalida. I have one student going to do foundation in Bristol for September intake, but would like to travel in January 2021. However, accommodation team couldn't let her book it from January to August. So she has to book from September till August. Seems to be like an individual student case.
Yeah, so with foundation in Bristol, so they absolutely should be able to book from January to August. So I'll have to look into that one and then come back to you.
Lalida, yes, please. If you could provide us with a student ID, we will be be making sure that we check this for you as soon as possible. Thank you. All right, so we've got a student who's going to Bristol, just received the pre-arrival form. Is free transfer only available for January? What about October start students?
Yes, it's absolutely available for October start students, so we will look into that as well, just to ensure that that's reflected on the form.
Thank you. All right, we've got another question for you, Ian, about the transfers. So transfers for students who are going to Nottingham Trent, would it be from London?
I know we've done London, and we've also done Birmingham. Apologies, I will have to look into which one it is this year, but if we submit that inquiry, then I can absolutely come back to you on that one.
Lovely. Right, as there is a question, can students choose to stay at the university accommodation instead of assigned Kaplan accommodation? I would imagine that that's a question with regards to our colleges in general.
In colleges in general, generally that we have our accommodation options. There are certain colleges which allow them to do so, such as FEPS, but we have our options, and then our options obviously align with their Pathways program.
Thank you. We've got another question. My student booked an en-suite room. Can she access a shared kitchen during quarantine?
Yeah, well, so this is where we say about following government guidelines, and of course, students are not going to be expected to be, kind of just assigned to their room. So we will follow the guidelines of what is in place at the time to ensure that students have necessary cooking facilities or the ability to accept deliveries.
Lovely, thank you. Right, we've got actually another question with regards to the food provision during the quarantine. So parents are asking, how much would it approximately cost for students to get the food deliveries for 2 weeks? That's a very good question. I think it really depends where the deliveries are coming from, right?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I'm sure we can look to the colleges to provide some assistance on what that would look like. Absolutely. It would depend on, again, where they're getting it from and what they wanted, I guess.
Yeah, and there is also a linked question to that as well. Would the student be able to cook their food instead in the kitchen? Once again, that goes back to the government regulations at that time.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, we've got another one. I'm just checking quickly so that we don't have overlapping questions with something else that we have already answered. Just bear with me.
I can see when in relation to do we need to provide any medical checkup proof to book the accommodation, you do not know.
Okay. Makes things easier, of course. Do you support students whose contract? Okay, we've got a question. Do you support students whose contract ends in June 2021 to find short-term accommodation before they progress to the main course in September 2021?
So if a student is due to finish in June, then they can choose a contract which they finish in June from September or October. But if they choose to book from January, then their contract end date will end at the end of August. And as I say, this is a really, really good option because it allows students to stay in the UK where they haven't stayed in the UK before, and the college are looking to do additional things, but their contract will be to the end of August.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Lalida, for providing the student ID. I have made a note of that, so we will be in touch with you shortly after the webinar. Okay, so that's medical check again.
I can see a question for Will, or admissions. I've got a question for admissions. My student wants to do IFP plus online completely. Is it possible?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I can help answer that question. So for both IFP and IFP Plus, I guess the first thing you need to be aware of is the 2-year rule. So we cannot, well, IFP and for our courses, we cannot substitute the fact that if they're going to run out on the 2-year rule for entire digital learning mode. So to answer that question, if it is severe disruption due to COVID-19, for example, then yes, they are able to stay online. But of course, just like our courses, our intention is for students to come and study face-to-face at the earliest opportunity for them when it's safe to do so as well.
Thank you so much. Well, that's very helpful. Right, I can see there is a question with regards to the contract lengths for students who start their program in September, but then they would be joining us for face-to-face in January, and whether the contract can only be just a 3 weeks contract. I think we touched upon this quite briefly just before, but yeah, I just wanted to say that we're actually really excited to be able to offer this flexibility to our students, and our main aim when we were working with our accommodation options was to ensure that students do not ever end up paying more, for example, as compared to a regular year, and this exactly does that. So students will still be paying the same or less than they would be paying in a regular year, even if their contract is finishing in August. So it's still a very good option for your students.
I can see a question in relation to the IFP Bristol environment.
Mm-hmm.
And our option. So it is in the city centre. Supermarkets are near, yes. It's not far. I visited it. It's a really, really fantastic option.
Thank you. All right. Well, it almost feels like we have finished pretty much all of our questions. Yes, this is it. Excellent. Well, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you. And we're very happy that you spent some time with us today. Oh, we've got another one just came in. Last one. Okay. I understand that staff at the accommodation will facilitate the receiving of packages, but can they do that prior to student arrivals, as students' family intend to send packages there to be better prepared for both the quarantine as well as the school year? If so, when would be appropriate time to send said packages over?
I think that's a good question, not one that I've had. So I think what we'd have to do is similar to when students wanted to arrive early. So we would just simply need to check with the residents and also what it was. Because the reason that we need to check is just simply because can it be placed in the room earlier? Is the room available? Which is as we have to check if a student wants to come in earlier. So we can absolutely check that. And if there is specific inquiries, we would look at where the student was booked and then check that within the residence. I'm sure within Kaplan Living, it would not be a problem, but we would need to check, especially with the other providers as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, again. And once again, for those of you who are celebrating Eid tomorrow, Eid Mubarak. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.